Yeah, no doubt about it. It probably would help more than anything, honestly, just to say that. Hi, this
Yeah,
is Tim. Listen to his shit.
there you go. We're off to a great start.
Right. Well, all right, man. Tim, I appreciate you hopping on the podcast and everything. We've already had a nice little conversation about the Cowboys, which
Yeah,
I'm sorry about, but
yeah.
yeah. So if Tim,
Thank you for having me on and not dragging me through the dirt too much about the Cowboys, as most people often do.
my dad moved to the DFW area when I was a kid, so by default I became somewhat of a Cowboys fan when I was a little kid. But that was during the Jay Novacek, Daryl Johnson, Aikman years and all that. So
Yeah, the
it was
glory
easy
days.
to be a fan at that
Yeah.
point in time.
Oh no, yeah,
So
no doubt.
yeah,
I
so
remember I think back on my childhood fondly. You know,
I got you.
in terms of the Cowboys, at least.
Understood. Understood.
So it feels like you're kind of surfing the good teams at this point.
Well, I was a kid, you know. I was kind of actually in my. That's why I like to point out my favorite players were Daryl Johnson and Jake Novacek. Not, you know, so I was,
Yeah.
you know, I dug a
Yeah,
little deeper. You know, I wasn't
yeah,
just a Emmett Smith fan. So
right.
yeah,
Fair enough.
yeah.
Yeah, a real football fan in the house. You know. Oh yeah.
For a long time, there was like the only one in my family that watched it too. So I don't even have like a team. You know, I didn't inherit a team or anything. So and Tennessee didn't
Yeah.
have one at that time. So
Yeah, because they would have been in Houston, right?
Yeah, I've
right.
been Oilers. Yeah.
Yep.
Bum
Yeah,
Phillips.
back then that was still Warren Moon with the Oilers at that time. So
Yeah.
they
Nice.
played in Memphis. They played in Memphis for one season, I think,
Oh, okay.
and everybody
Okay.
still fusses about that around my area for some reason. But that's a weird situation. Um, but yeah, Tim, thanks for hopping on. I want to one say your name is Tim Allen, and
That's correct.
I like the sense of humor and the sarcasm and everything that went into the name. That you weren't taking it super serious and trying to come up with something a little bit, you know, off the wall or whatever.
Yeah.
Dad joke-ish, which I'm right. That's great for me. Um,
Yeah.
so how did that? Why the name and how did that come about? Let's just go ahead and get that.
Well, yeah. So, I mean, originally I was going as my birth name, my God-given name, and somebody, I don't know who, for the life of me, was like, you know, like it was like somebody who does like tech-related, internet kind of job, IT-related thing, and they were like, you know, this is like probably not. Probably not going to work very well for you for this to be the thing, because when people Google you, they're just going to find, you know, the guy. And I then went and Googled myself and was like, oh, because not only is there like Tim Allen, but there's also like a million other Tim Allens, you know. Um, I think I also want to just clarify. I think I've mentioned this many times on different interviews, but his actual name is not Tim Allen. His name is
Right.
Timothy Allen Dick. So he actually changed his name to be my name. I mean, it was before I was born, but you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
I feel like I got some buddies in Kansas, and they always used to say, like, you're the real Tim Allen. You're the real Tim Allen. And I'd be like, yeah, I guess that's kind of true. But yeah, so then I wanted to do Timlightyear, plus I've always been like space type stuff. I think that stuff's interesting. And, you know, Buzz Lightyear, I've always been a Toy Story fan. And I originally started as just like a joke Instagram handle. It wasn't supposed to be like my artist project. But then when I started doing my artist project, it was kind of like, let's try and come up with a band name. Let's try and come up with something cool. And we couldn't. Also, band names are just pretty much dumb no matter what. You know what I mean? So it's,
Yeah.
at least in my opinion, you know, it's anyways. But yeah, we tried to beat it and we couldn't. And it was like, all right, we're just going to roll with this. So pretty much where we landed.
Understood
Yeah,
completely.
yeah,
Yeah, the whole Soul Gravy thing was kind of the same thing on my part. So that was supposed to just be a TikTok name, and then yeah. Anyways,
yeah. And now
that's
here you are. And now here you are. Yeah.
yeah. And then now I'm like, if I ever meet Cody Canada, I'm just gonna be like, "Hi, I'm Chris."
I don't know if you heard
That's
um,
good.
yeah. So, but yeah. So I can relate. And as far as the band names, the thing, it's like you. It's always. It's like you pick a name and then you get some gigs and then you think, like, was that the right thing to do or not? Like it never seems comfortable no matter what.
Yeah.
There's always doubt on that. But so when you started with the Timlightyear all together, by the way, everybody,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
is that was that already going to be a band or was that you solo?
Well, it's kind of a weird deal because, like, originally I was just doing me and an acoustic guitar, singer songwriter type thing, and then like I played my first show doing that by myself, and my brother, who's a drummer, was there, and he saw the show. I mean, he had been encouraging me to like do this in general, but he saw the show, and then he was like, "Well, dude, like, I'll just be in your band I'll just be your drummer." And then we found my bass player, who I've known since I was a kid, and we started to work on tunes, and we just started to take the stuff that I had written very much with the intention of it being just like very singer songwriter acoustic, and like worked it up as a band to more what it is now.
Mm.
um, and so I just kind of treat everybody as a equal member of the thing, and kind of try and run the business that way as much as I can, you know what I mean? And obviously there's like, somebody's got to make the call, like every band has a front, not necessarily a front man, but like every band has a leader, you know
Hmm.
what I mean? So like, and once again, it was like, I'd already started doing the thing as Tim Lightyear, and we tried to beat the name. And so on stage, I say, "We're Tim Lightyear." I don't say, "I'm Tim Lightyear."
Right.
So trying to bridge the gap between, having some sort of identity as a songwriter, um, but not also not limiting that to, I'm the guy and it's all about me. Like if
Yeah.
somebody else in my band writes a song and it's dope, like I'm not prideful about, this is my thing only. It's very much a collaborative project. So hopefully that answers. I don't know. It's I'm somewhere in the middle, I suppose.
No, I understand. And I'm sure it's a probably a moving target all the time with whatever works and figuring it out and seeing
Yep.
where it goes from there.
Yeah.
Which the biggest thing is like if apparently you're fairly close with these guys, so that helps out a ton with determining where you're going from here for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Everybody that's been in my band, or yeah, I guess almost everybody that's been in my band, I've known since I was like 15 or younger. So, which I just got lucky that that's the case. That's not a common situation. So I just got lucky there.
Yeah.
So,
Saba.
yeah.
Yeah, Tim, for the viewers that maybe aren't as familiar with your music, can you talk a little bit about kind of your musical background? I think it's pretty interesting, but it might be better to hear it from you.
Yeah. Do you mean like the history of projects that I've been in type thing?
Yeah, a little bit of
Sure.
that and just kind of how you got rolling.
Sure. Yeah. I grew up in Dallas and was playing in clubs in Deep Ellum when I was like 15. Like our parents had to drive us to gigs type deal.
Yeah.
And played in a bunch of bands throughout high school, and then I moved to Kansas for about a year and played in a band with some people there that I still love deeply to this day. And then I moved back home and was in another project called North of Autumn for a while, and we were kind of going for this like pop rock, Dave Matthews vibe. Uh, and then I moved to Denton, which for viewers who are not familiar with Texas, it's where the University of North Texas is. It's north of DFW, and there's a music school there. So at that point I was trying to do like, avant-garde, weird, indie kind of music. And my one of my really good friends was my roommate. He is a drummer, and he had been playing in this country band. And he came home after one weekend on the road, and he was like, "Dude, like, you know, these gigs are super easy. The pay's decent." Which back then it was decent. Like
Right.
looking back, not really, but
Right.
for a for a
Different.
22-year-old, it was like, dude, we could buy so much beer this week. You know what I mean? Like that kind of thing. Uh, and so he was like, you gotta come play. Like you just gotta come check it out. It's super fun. So I originally was the bass player in Shane Smith and the Saints. That was my first role in the band. And then the guitar player John Menard left, and because he finished school and went and got a big boy job, and so we kind of decided I would move over to guitar. And I was in the Saints for like 7 years, somewhere in there, and then I left the Saints in 2019 to move back to Dallas to focus on my production career, my artist career, and just like starting a family and trying to like find my identity as me by myself rather than me as a guy in a because all I had done was be in bands, you know what I mean, since I was never which this kind of counteracts what I was saying before about the whole solo guy versus whatever, but I feel like I had to find my voice as a songwriter and then be able to collaborate from that angle rather than from the angle of like I'm a side guy who can help you write your songs.
That
Um,
makes sense.
so yeah, so now I'm living outside of Rose City. I've got my solo project. I say it's solo project. I've got my band. Uh, I've got my studio, and yeah, that's what I'm up to now. That's kind of the journey.
Cool. Thank you. I
Yes,
guess
sir.
one of my questions. Not everybody has the skill, ability, or interest of wanting to go into production. How did you come into that, and where did that kind of drive come from, and how did that develop?
Well, I mean, when I was a kid in those bands, we like somebody's dad, like my current drummer. I was in bands with him when I was in high school, and his dad had a band. Like they had like a music room at their house. They had a band, and they had like this little Tascam digital recorder, like where you could, I think it was like maybe 8 to 12 inputs, something like that. And it
Okay.
was like, it had these big obnoxious buttons on it that you would, if you wanted to enable if you wanted to record enable as this big red blinking light, and we sat there with the manual for like days trying to figure out how to work this thing, and then we would record our own stuff and then go burn the CD, we would get a CD of it and go. I mean, we were like back in the, printing single copies at a time type deal,
Right.
and so, and we had no earthly idea what we were doing, but I mean, we made an album, and so I think it's always kind of been, once I started taking being in a band or playing live music seriously, I was also just kind of recording stuff at the same time. And then after I moved back from Kansas, when I was in the pop rock band, we went and like did a real studio album where I like got to see, okay, like this is what the big boys are doing type thing, and I was like, okay, like I have the musical understanding and the knowledge and like the intuition that this guy here has. I just don't have the technical skill that he has. That's not me saying like I'm the same as him or anything like that. I just mean like I could do that component of it for as long as I can remember. And so then I just started to learn how to use Pro Tools and learn what phase is and preamps and gain and EQ and everything else. Slowly over the last probably 10 years, I've been taking it pretty seriously. And yeah, I don't know. You said not everybody has the drive I never had that situation. It was always just kind of like, yeah, this makes sense
Sure.
that this is something you do. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
Yeah, and
yeah,
I think I maybe have a little bit different view, but just from being involved with a few different artists, there are some folks that are into the project pretty far. Some folks that are just like, hey, I want to get up and do my thing, and kind of keep it moving. So I was just
yeah,
curious what the motivation was there for you.
yeah. I think sometimes I wish I didn't care as much about the studio process as I do. I think it would be. I mean, grass is always greener, but I think it would be a little more fun to do more dancing around on stage and do less drum editing. You know what I mean?
Sure,
But
sure. Yeah,
it's a blessing and a curse. You know what I mean?
very cool.
So yeah.
If you were to put those in order, all of the between guitarist, songwriter, producer, what order is that most natural for you,
That is an incredible question
or
because
does
that
it
is
change
something.
all the time?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's a really good question because, and it's something that I'm like literally today I've been trying to figure out where those priorities lie because there's some other stuff that I have going on, and it's really interesting that you're asking me this right now because I've been trying to figure it out all day and I haven't figured it out. So maybe I can figure it out now. I think that in a lot of situations, my process with songwriting is in tandem with production, because I feel like it's, and obviously it varies song to song and situation to situation, but I feel like a lot of times it's easier for me to write when I don't have the instrument in my hand. When I don't have to sit there and strum the chords while I'm trying to figure out what the other thing is. If I just have a beat going, or if I just have the guitar pattern going underneath on a loop, it makes it easier for me to focus on just this only. So I think those two things kind of go hand in hand. In terms of what's natural, I think I've been playing guitar the longest. So that's probably the most natural thing for me. And if I had to put them in order, I think songwriting is the newest thing that I've been doing. I mean, I've been writing songs forever, but not in the way that I am now. The songs that I wrote when I was 15, they're
Right,
songs, but they're not really songs.
right, understood.
Um, so yeah, I think if I had to put it in order, most natural to not most natural, it would be guitar, production, songwriting. But I'm working really hard on making it to where they're all three the same thing.
Completely
So
Can
understand.
I can I
Yeah,
add
go.
in one more?
Hmm.
yeah.
So the other piece would for me would be running the business. So
Mm,
the business of your
mm.
music and your production, where does that fall in? Sorry.
No, that's a really good question too. Um, it's tough, man. It's tough because I think that you have to. Well, at least okay. So for me, I think that I'm still trying to figure out how to make that a piece of it. I'm still trying to balance out when I need to do somebody a favor and when I need to stand my ground and I got to get mine situation.
Sure.
Yeah,
And I'm getting better at figuring that out because at the end of the day, what I want to do is make art. You know, I want to make dope ass songs with dope ass people or by myself or whatever. And I feel like while I understand that money is a necessary part of life, I also feel like a lot of times money gets in the way of something really, really special and beautiful happening. Um, so if I had to rank it in there, it's at the dead last because business doesn't come naturally to me, and that's something that I have to work really, really hard on. And I'm learning how to be a lot better at putting business at the front of the situation and not having to figure it out as things go along, because that's just messy, and I've learned that the hard way a lot of times. Um, and knowing when to say, this is not a moment right now for this person or for this situation. This is not a moment where this is the conversation that needs to be had.
Right.
This person's in a really vulnerable place, and they're going to open up and share some piece of art in this exact moment that is going to be life changing for someone else who really needs to hear it. And so now is not the time to have that conversation. So I don't know, it feels like a delicate dance sometimes. And what I really hope is somebody will manage my production business so that I don't have to have those conversations anymore.
Makes
you
sense.
know you know
Understand.
Need a
yeah,
middleman.
yeah, yeah. The problem is there's no piece of crust to share with that person right now. So
Yeah. Understand. Understand.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Um, I mean, you could. I mean, like kids are brutally honest. You could, But one of the things that I did think about when you were talking about all that is you mentioned making art and like that come up several times when you said that rather than uh, making the money or making the fame or making the whatever else. Like you said making art several times, and
yeah,
I'm sure when you have that outlook, sometimes the other things can I guess bite you in the ass a little bit every now and then as far as the business or not being uh, focused on those other things that other people are focused on, if that makes sense. If you're working with
yeah.
people that are focused on the money or that that section of it, and you're not, then But I'm sure you can weed that out pretty quick of who's in the
Yeah, and I think
same
I
lane.
think I think the universe responds to that. You know what I mean? I think that when you put out, and this is hippy dippy shit. So
That's
for
okay.
all my non hippy dippies, just turn the volume down for a minute or whatever. But I feel like when you have the right approach, just to people in general, not just people you're working with, just people in general. I feel like the universe acknowledges that and they respond accordingly. And sometimes it might feel like you're like, all right, universe, like, when the hell are you going to show up for me? I've been doing my thing. But, there's a story in the book. I mean, it's the story of Job from the Bible where he's like, going through hell and hell and hell and hell. And then at the end, he's maintaining his faith the whole time. And I feel like if you apply that to your business, like what goes around comes around. So not to get, I
Yeah.
mean, I was like getting all cosmic and religious and shit there, so I apologize, but
That,
yeah, I don't
no,
know.
the whole point of this thing is to get to know you. So that's
Cool.
whatever. You know what I mean?
Word.
Yeah. I mean, I've said it before. Like I had an old. I'm an electrician by trade, and one of my first journeymen told me a long time ago, "You get what you give," and that
Yeah.
see that the older I get, the more I see that. So
Yep. Yeah.
yeah,
I like that. So you just summed up my whole 3 minute rant real nicely. So I appreciate that.
that's okay. We got a podcast to do. So all right, Talbo, you got another one?
I've got a few actually. I want to
Okay.
hop away from the production stuff for a second, but I'm uh, I'm familiar with your music. But for those that aren't, how would you describe your music? So somebody who's never heard you before, how would you kind of describe your individual music?
Yeah. I will say first that I put in my Instagram bio Texas soul and rock and roll because I feel like that's the simplest way to say it without being like, well, like there's a hint of blah blah blah, and I really love Mozart, and like I don't know, man. I'm just trying to do what feels right, and and I don't want to get too philosophical, but yeah, my music is Texas soul and rock and roll and songwriter, and somewhat experimental and weird whenever I want to, but Texas soul and rock and roll.
Well, we love it. So just keep doing what you're doing.
I appreciate that.
You bet.
Seriously.
Wow. Yeah. Well, happy to say it. I guess from to slide over to the production side a little bit. Can you tell us about kind of the range of folks that you've worked with, and maybe a little bit about some folks that we need to be familiar with?
Yeah, I would love to talk about that. Range. Lately I've been trying to make pop bangers. I've been trying to make Max Martin
Oh,
type. I mean, like, my version of that. But like, I've been trying to dip my toe into the pop world. Um, I've got one song out that I did with Tom Sless and Katrina Kane, both of whom you should check out if you don't already know their stuff. And it's like this badass island-ish pop song. So that's kind of like the far end of the commercial world that I go into. But I also do a lot of like folk rock, a lot of Americana, some country, some like very, very singer-songwriter style stuff. So some artists that I love that I've gotten to work with that kind of fall into those veins are Della Rose, Tom Sless, who I already said, Runaway Sky, Ryan Glenn, Dustin Seiler. I'm going to forget some, and I'm going to feel bad because they're all like my little buddies, and I'm going to feel bad because I'm going to forget somebody. Who else? Eli Howard, the Lowdown Drifters. I'm forgetting somebody that's right there.
Dan O'Connell.
Dan O'Connell, thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a big one. Yeah, he's one of my best buds. Yeah, and Darren Jones. Yeah, I don't know. It's been really interesting the last few years where things have really ramped up, and I've gotten to work with people who are, some people come in and they have a really strong vision for what they want. Like you were saying, you know what I mean? They're like, I really want it to be like it's got to make me feel like there's like butterflies on fire, man. You know what I mean? And some people are like that, and then other people are like, I don't care, just make it pretty, and like that's fun too. You know what I mean? But yeah, I will say that I am open to doing just about any type of music. I don't know that I'm capable of doing certain types of music at this current moment in time. Like if somebody said I want to do a metal record, I would be like, I might not be the guy for that right now, but maybe later. But yeah, I like good songs, man. That's what I'm really after is just good songs.
Well, if I could give a plug, so most of those bands are on the Timlightyear production playlist. So if you're interested in kind of what Tim's been working with and who he's been working with, I know we've had a few of those folks on the podcast already, but go check out his playlist. It's called Timlightyear Productions, and while you're there, give him a follow on wherever you stream your music.
Yeah, listen to my shit. You know what I'm saying?
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, I've had the privilege of talking to Della Rose. They were super cool.
They're amazing, dude.
Yeah, it was hard
Yeah.
not to goof around or smile or whatever with them two around. So they were nice to me. I'm glad I met them, I guess is what I'm getting at.
Yeah, dude.
And super talented.
Yeah, dude. It's a miracle that we've gotten any work done in the studio when they're in here because we're always just goofing around having so much fun. There was the most recent song that I was doing with them. It's like it's still in production, but like it's kind of like this like it's a pretty sexy song, And so we had this like at the top. I don't want to give too much away, but we had this breath where it was like, like kind of a sexy breath, you know what I mean? And so I like that was there, and then I was like, all right, I'm gonna get on the mic, and it was like the breath left, and I go, a cold Sprite, and enjoy a refreshment because it was like it sounded like like Sprite, I don't know, You have to hear it, but it's I don't know. They're just goofy and they're fun, and they're down to entertain my goofy ass. So
Yeah, they're great.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
I did think of one additional. I know you've spent a lot of time with Evan recently. Um,
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Evan
So
Boyer.
can you talk a little bit about Evan?
Yeah, dude. Evan is hilarious. First of all, he's one of the sweetest dudes I've ever met. Um, he so the guy who he's pretty much my mentor. His name's Bradley Procope. He mixes all the projects that I do pretty much, and he produced Evan's album. And a lot of times, me and Brad have like if I'm going to be on this, you're going to be on this type of deal as much as you can.
Right.
So he was like, Evan, we need to bring in Tim. And so I got to work on Evan's album, and then we became buddies and just kind of started hanging out. And we decided we were going to release our albums together. And it went super well. And it was a very painless process, which getting two artists in the room isn't always a painless process. It's like sometimes it can be like two beta fish, or you're just gonna whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, so all summer we've been playing acoustic shows together, driving all over Texas and Oklahoma, and making fun of each other. And we started writing a couple songs. Like I've been helping him with a couple of his songs, and he's been helping me with a couple of things that I have going on. And it's really good to have a springboard where it's like, yo, dude, I got this going on. Like, am I an idiot or am I missing something or whatever? And he's just like, he's not afraid to be honest we're not afraid to be honest with each other. You know what I mean? So I think that's super helpful. And I think Evan's super talented and really smart, And like I said, he's one of the sweetest dudes ever. So
Yep.
it's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure hanging out with him all summer,
Yeah, and you brought up a topic there that I just wanted to talk on a little bit. Sometimes it's hard to find people that will shoot you straight. Um, and I know that sounds silly, but I've learned this a little bit from just being around it. Sometimes your your friends want to support you, and then you might say, "Hey, give this one a listen. What do you think?" And then they are apprehensive to give you the
The
feedback
truth,
because they're your friend. Do you have
right?
a group of folks that you can go to that can give you like that kind of direct 8-year-old feedback?
Yeah. I mean, so Drew Herrickle is who produced my album. He is the person at the top of that list where like there's been plenty of times where I'm like, I think this is cool, and he's like, it's not cool, and that's okay that it's not cool. And yeah, I mean, Drew's definitely at the top of the list. Tom Sless is another person who's really good about that. Uh, my assistant Ryan Glenn, who's also a singer songwriter, I mentioned him as well. He's really good about that as well. And so is Bradley. And I'm also lucky because I have several very opinionated brothers.
Oh,
Um, most of which are musicians as well, and one who is an avid music fan but doesn't have any technical knowledge, which is like the most valuable thing you could ever have, because it's like he doesn't care, he doesn't care
right.
if there's a 2 chord, he doesn't care if there's he doesn't, none of that stuff matters. It's just is it cool or not, and so he's super honest and has a really great perspective. So yes, I have a wealth of people who will tell me when I suck. It's
Well,
great.
on the flip side of that, are you that person for any of those other folks or anybody else? I know it's tough
Uh
as maybe a producer, but
yeah. I mean, I feel like as a producer, that's part of the job. Is like this ain't cutting it, dog. Like and it's important. I think, especially in a studio setting, to know how to communicate that the right way. which I try and lean on, like, I think you can do better than this. I believe that there's more in you than what you've currently brought to the table. And it's okay that this isn't there yet. And it shows me that you are capable of more, But yeah, I mean, a lot of those people that I named, I am producing their stuff as well. So I feel like there's been a good amount of that, It's like I can vividly remember when we started Tom's album. Tom's from New Jersey, and he had this song called Texas Turnaround and it is a very good song, but at the time, Tom was just moved down here from LA, and I felt like maybe it was a little too soon for him to sing a song about, sing a, like, informed opinion type song about Texas, when it's like people are pretty proud about that whole thing down here, so you might just want to be careful about this, Yeah. And so we held off on that song, and we've worked on it since, and I think that now Tom's been, and not that I'm the boss of any of it, but I think now Tom's been down here long enough that he can do whatever he wants with that song, you know what I mean? But that's just an example of, like, hey man, like, probably not now, you know?
Good example. Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's a great question.
Oh, thanks. I stayed up all night last night coming up with some of these. Your turn, Soul.
It's like I asked my mom, she told me some stuff. I asked my brother.
Super helpful.
Yeah, he's got people that he bounces the questions off of. Is this a stupid question?
You're
like, yeah. That's funny. So listening to your music and then going and diving to your live shows on YouTube. I know you're a three piece band for the most part when you are playing full band. When you're making these songs or putting these songs together, are you thinking about 3-piece band, or are you making an album first and then worry about the live performance later?
It's a constant debate and conversation that I have, not only with myself but with every artist that walks through the door,
So you have that struggle with yourself twice because of the two roles that you play as far as producer as well. That's
for sure. Yeah. Well, and here's the way that I think about it most of the time. So I feel like you should make the record that you dream of performing live, and also it's your live show is only one piece of your business, like your album, like you're recording. And here's the other thing too, is you can record a song as many ways as you want, so like just because you do it this way this time doesn't mean you can't go do a broken down version or a strings only version or an a cappella version or a bluegrass version, whatever, so my whole thing is like, well, what's serving the song right now in this moment that we're doing the song right now, and maybe somewhat in relation to the other songs that we're doing right now, but I think that I don't like the idea of limiting what something could be because of your ability to recreate it. You're also not going to have Melodyne on stage. So do you not want to use Melodyne? You're not going to have all these fancy microphones on stage. Do you not want to use those? Like, where does the line start and stop with that whole thing? You know what I mean? And so, and if someone comes to me and says, hey man, like, I really don't want to do X, Y, and Z, I'm not going to say, well, cool, man, I don't want to work with you unless you do it my way. But it's got to be a collaborative thing, and it's got to be, I don't want you to put out. It goes back to that same thing. Like, I don't want you to put out dog shit. So it's my job to figure out how far we can push this before you get uncomfortable, and then maybe that's where it is. Because I feel like a lot of times artists are afraid, and myself included, they're afraid of whatever the thing is. Well, this is a little too weird. Well, maybe it should be a little too weird, So, I don't know. I understand the other side of the coin, which is, well, we got to go tour this live. So if bagpipes throughout the whole damn song. Like, how are we gonna have bagpipes on the road? We don't have enough seats in the van. Like, I get it, and I think that there's somewhere you can land in between. But it's also like, man, this song would murder if we could just hire the horn section and let's just do it. You know, you can't always have a horn. You don't have a horn section right now, but when you're at Red Rocks, you will have a horn section. You know, when you're playing Jerry World, you will have a horn section. So let's make the song for that. You know,
Make the song for where you're trying to get to, not
your
necessarily where you're at.
dreams. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. You know.
Dress for the occasion, or dress for the
Yeah.
job. What's the slogan? What is it? Dress for the job
Dress
that you
for
want,
the job
not
you
for the
want, not not the job you have.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That was,
and I don't know, man. I feel like if we're already in this space of like we're dreamers and we're doing this crazy thing already. Like, why are we trying to put so many limiting factors on it in the process? You know.
Yeah,
So,
no, I completely understand that. I mean, I can see
yeah.
where some artists, it would almost be a natural thing between studio to on the road would be, would carry over really, really easy. But then when you get outside of that, if you're not a blues artist or you know what I mean,
Yeah.
where it's already kind of broken down anyway,
Sure.
then yeah, I completely understand why a lot of people want to make the album that you want first and then deal with the other problem later,
Yeah. Well, and here's the thing: is like if you got a killing ass band, it's gonna sound good because you made sure you wrote good songs, and even though you don't have the horn section, you and your band will figure out a way to make it work. You know, like a good example of that, in my opinion, is like Mike and the Moon Pies. Right? They have they have nothing but straight murderers on stage. They could go into the studio with just them and only play their instruments and like basically play the song down how they would play it live, and it would still kill. But yet they bring it in whatever the hell they want, you know.
Understood.
So, yeah, I don't know.
Understood.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I guess one of the big debates ever, right, is all the stuff that Zeppelin would do and bands like that that they might not be able to recreate in
Yep.
person. So I mean,
Yeah, but it didn't. I mean, they clearly had zero problems with that, you know.
right. So, all right, Talbot, you got another one?
Yes, I do. I got a whole bunch of them.
All right.
Can we, Tim? Are you comfortable with us queuing up one of your songs to play so everybody could hear?
Sure.
Do you have a preference on what you would
Yeah.
like to? Okay.
No.
I think maybe "Make My Way to You,"
Cool.
if that's available.
Yeah.
And then while you're doing that, so you don't have to share this one, but I'm just curious what like kind of strategies or what is your process in terms of recruiting artists to produce? How do you have a logical steps in terms that you go through to try to find the right people to work with, or is it all relationships that you've developed?
I am very blessed that I've only ever been a part of one project that was like, I want to shoot myself in the leg and deal with the pain of that rather than be here in this moment. I've only really ever had one of those situations. So I think a lot of it's luck. A lot of it is going out and touring and meeting people, and I don't just mean now. I mean for the last 15 years of my life, I've been out on the road meeting people and touring, and whatever name recognition I may have has served me to some small degree, maybe, but not that much. I think it's just going out, shaking babies, kissing hands, and I think it's the one thing that I'll say is people know when you're bullshitting, So if you go up to somebody and you say, "Man, you had a really great show. I'd love to work with you," and if they could sit there and say, "Oh, well, which songs did you like the most, or what stood out to you in particular?" and you go, "Oh man, the whole thing," like,
Right.
like it's like you should lead with take some notes, mental notes of like, man, that song where you guys where you guys had this, whatever thing like that really was really cool. And like everybody in the crowd really loved that. Like you guys really have something special here, and I would love to help you cultivate that and turn it into something more, you know what I mean? And I feel like I could help you do that, so that's the big one for me. I have not had a lot of cold call work come my way,
Right.
like a very small percentage of it. And I've had, when I say cold call, I mean me cold calling other people, but also the other way, where someone who I've never met or don't know hits me up and says, I want to work together. Della Rose was actually one of those, though, because I put out like a Instagram ad thing at one point where I was feeling real, the fridge was looking real empty, and I was like, I need to put a discount code up. And they hit me up and they were like, we want to do a song, and a friend of ours recommended you, and that's why I have that relationship with them. So I say all that to say, like, I think it's a bit of a crapshoot. I think you just kind of gotta get creative. Definitely go out and meet people and go to shows, though. That's, I think, the biggest thing for sure.
Yeah, totally agree.
Yeah,
You ready, Soul?
yeah, I could definitely see that where you going and meeting them face to face. You probably get a vibe pretty quick whether you want to work with them or not or what.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Personality wise, style wise, the whole thing.
Yep.
Probably shows way more in person than listening to them on Spotify or whatever
100%.
the case would be. Yeah.
100%.
All right. So make my way to you. So.
As I started waking, I also started breaking. Covered in the morning, covered in the dew, I'll make my way to you. but I still maintain my thoughts with all the things I've lost. With all the things I've lost, I'll make my way to you. Yeah, baby, I'll make my way to you. Make my way to you. Yeah, 'cause everything I am, well, it don't mean a damn.
Yeah, man. So I'm from near Memphis, and so the bass groove is like the first thing that stood out to me when I listened to that the first time, and whenever I pulled up the live videos, I believe it was at Bucks,
Yeah,
YouTube. Like the groove was the first thing that stood out. Like, you know, from the Van Morrison stuff to even like the Memphis and the Muscle Shoals stuff and all that. Yeah,
Yeah.
the groove was the first thing that stood out to me on that
Cool.
song for sure.
Cool.
And I'm a huge fan of your voice, how Drew sings with you, like the way that combines.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a big fan of his voice in general, but you guys sound great together.
Man, something funny about that, and I was thinking about this just now while we were listening to it, but so that's not the original final vocal. Like, that's like final vocal 2. Or, you know, or like vocal final dot 2, you know, whatever, that whole thing. Because I got the vocal and I was just like, I sat with, you know, I hated being the guy that I always like, am like, really, man, we already did this and you were okay with it and now you're not, you know, that whole thing. But I was the guy. And so I went to Drew and I was like, hey, dude, I'm just going to take a stab at this and like, let me know if it's better or not. You know, if it loses some sort of magic that you really love, I'll back off, but I just want to give it a shot. And so when I did that, you did Drew's harmonies because they were already cut to the original vocal. So
Gotcha.
there are certain spots in there where he is singing where the original vocal went rhythmically, and I'm singing something totally different, and it doesn't quite match up in the most amazing way. You know what I mean? Like, it's one of those happy accident situations. But yes, I also really enjoy singing with Drew and the way that our voices sound together. I love it.
It's great. Yeah, very cool. Do you have? I know sometimes, you know, the way a fan views a record, or you know, it's a moment in time, right? And songs grow and develop. Do you have a hard time listening to your own music and like kind of being critical of it, I guess would be the best way to say it?
Yeah, there were definitely some kick drums and some snare drums in there that were a little late. But I would rather them be late than early, so it's cool with me. I also, my son is always like, I want to listen to Daddy's songs. So I've listened to my own music against my will so many times at this point that I'm just kind of used to it. And I think that, like I said earlier, like, songs can have many lives. And so I think that you have to allow yourself to get to a place where you accept that this is where the song is right now in this, like you said, in this moment in time. And it doesn't have to be that way forever, you know?
Sure.
And I think that that's a very freeing perspective to have because it allows you to appreciate what that moment was.
Yep.
So,
well, and there's quite a few bands that made a history of having drummers that drug a little bit, right?
yeah, oh, totally. I mean, Drew did a really good job of helping me not go down a rabbit hole that I often go down, mainly with my own music, which is where I like get too analytical and everything has to be too perfect. And like, particularly with that song, he was like, "Nah, dude, it's like, it's old school. It's supposed to be loose. It's supposed to be vibey." And I was like, "Okay, you're right. I get where you're coming from." And yeah, and I think that it's better for the you know, the errors are part of the magic, you know?
Yeah, makes sense.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking that when you were talking about the harmonies not matching up exactly right. I mean, some Some of the harmony parts that really catch my ear are stuff that's kind of loose,
Mm-hmm.
that's not, perfect. So,
Makes it
um,
feel more human, you know.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I was like, the first thing that came to mind when you were talking about that was some of the Stone stuff, and even like Emmylou Harris, like it's not perfect. It's a little
Yeah.
rough, but
Yep.
it's hard to beat.
Yeah.
I mean, the
Yeah. There's a
Stones sound like
certain.
they're about to fall apart all the time, but
Yeah.
which
But
is the
that's why
magic.
it's magical. Yeah.
Yep.
Exactly, dude.
Yeah,
Exactly.
that's a better way of saying what the question I was trying to ask. So thanks, Phil.
Yeah.
That's what I'm here for. I just clean up whatever y'all say in 3 minutes.
Yep.
Yeah.
I make some
Dude.
analogy for that's
Dude, I
okay.
need it. I need it.
Well, I have one question left, and then I'll let Soul get to his most important question of the podcast. Um, Tribute bands, yay or nay?
Everybody's got to eat, dog.
Yeah,
I don't like it, but somebody does.
A lot of people do.
You know.
I'll put a plug in for my favorite tribute band, Men Still, while we're here.
Yeah. Okay. That's a hey. You know what I'm saying? Hey, you're okay. I'll give a little bit better answer because I feel like that wasn't good enough. Tribute bands done well. Bands done poorly.
Fair.
Pretty much where it is. And that doesn't necessarily mean it's got to be perfect. And also, I kind of dig it when somebody is like, we're gonna do Bob Dylan's entire catalog, but with 8-bit instruments only. It's like, okay, that's kind of fun. That's a neat twist because then
Yep.
it's all of those songs in their own new moment in time in a way that no one ever could have imagined. So I think that is something interesting. But maybe that's not a tribute band. Maybe that's something else.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, but yeah, it's cool.
Yeah.
When I think tribute band, I think of the ones that dress up like the like mirror
Right.
image. That's what I think of, and that's when it gets
Yeah.
That's when it
It's a
gets
little
ultra creepy.
unsettling.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's like you talk about Men's Deal. I don't see them doing the same. For some reason, it doesn't even register in the same catalog as a lot of the people that tour dressing up like the other people.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
I
also,
agree.
who doesn't want to try to be like Vince Gill? I mean, that's actually cool. So,
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
100%.
Yeah.
100% agree.
so not that Fleetwood Mac and stuff is not cool, but still, it's just I don't know. It's just weird. One of the questions that I didn't get to ask earlier when we were in the middle of this stuff, and you can rush through it if you want to, or however you want to take this. But we try to, with you asking questions, it's like a 3-part deal because of the guitar writing. But
Right.
some influences with some of those things. I mean, you don't have to go down each section, but just some influences on guitar.
Yeah.
And maybe
Yeah.
in writing and producing, which I
Yeah.
think I know when they're producers. But
Guitar-wise, it's easy because I heard ZZ Top and was like, I just got to do whatever the fuck that is. So Billy Gibbons, for sure, he's a legend. He does things that just, I don't know, no one else does. To be honest, though, like, I'm not the... I appreciate shred guitar for what it is. I'm like, wow, Eddie Van Halen is unbelievable. And maybe he's not the best example. Maybe like a Steve Vai or an Eric Johnson and this isn't to talk shit on those guys because what they do is incredible. But I feel like John Frusciante is like top 5 guitar players ever. And the dude can rip, but he's not. It's like him and Mike Campbell and Billy Gibbons. They're not shredding, They're
Just
playing the perfect guitar part
tasty.
all the time, And like that's what really gets me going in terms of guitar stuff is great tone and tasteful parts, that don't leave you wanting anything else, So those are kind of the 3 for me in terms of influences on guitar. Songwriting, that's a endless pit because that's where it does get into the whole like Mozart and the Beatles and Jason Isbell and John Moreland and Death Cab for Cutie and Incubus and Rat-a-tat and Outcast, and I mean, that's just like anything there. Producers, I mean,
I know that's probably a different answer because you have to kind of be around those guys to really, if that makes sense. Like you're naming Billy Gibbons and all those guys from listening to them at a young age
yeah,
or just
yeah.
over this time. Producer would probably be somebody you've actually been around and worked with. I would.
Yeah, I mean, like Jeff from Modern Electric, Jeff Shines, him. I really look up to him as a producer, but also just like as a dude. Like he has this aura about him where you just feel safe around the guy, and I just have a ton of respect for him. So he's definitely on the list. My buddy Bradley, who I talked about earlier. I mean, I look up to him. I've learned so much from him. He's definitely on the list. And I mean, Benny Blanco. I anything to write and do stuff with that guy. I think. And are you guys familiar with Benny Blanco?
Yep.
Okay, yeah. Okay, just making sure. Some people don't know who the hell that is. So, he's the weirdest dude ever, and he's been on like every, not just like top pop hits, but like the ones that I actually dig. Because not all pop songs are like dope in my opinion. Some of them it's like, yeah, it's kind of hokey, it's kind of lame. But most of the stuff that he touches is like actually badass. So he's on the list for sure.
All right. One other quick question, then we'll get to the most important question of the night. What was your first concert? And if it was like something that your parents drug you to, what was the first concert that you ever paid to go see yourself?
So church doesn't count. Okay, just making sure. Okay, first concert was probably first concert that I can remember going to was probably ZZ Top. My dad, so there's a giant, it's the biggest guitar store in the world. It's called Ed Roman's Guitar Store in Las Vegas. And my dad took me and my oldest brother to Las Vegas to go to Ed Roman's to look at guitars and to go see ZZ Top. And I was like 13 or 12, or it was like right when I mean, like Billy Gibbons was God to me. And so my dad was like, we're going to see ZZ Top. So that's like the first one that I really remember. I wouldn't say they drugged me to it because I thought Billy Gibbons was, everything. The first concert I remember paying for, a band called Minus the Bear. No? Okay. They're one of my favorite bands. I should have mentioned them in the other list, but they're like super cool indie band. They're just rad. If you haven't checked it out, highly recommend.
Okay.
But yeah, I was like 16.
So mine was all over the place. So the first one was Sawyer Brown that the family took me to, and then the one I paid for was Candlebox. So mine was mine was all over the place too.
That's cool.
And we've had like Britney Spears and NSYNC, all kinds of answers. That's the only reason why I like to ask, because you never know what it is.
Yeah, no, that's a cool question.
Thank you. I did not stay up for that one, but Talbot loses sleep for us.
Somebody told you it wasn't dumb though. You know what I mean? Somebody you know.
Well, like I said, we've gotten ridiculous answers back, so that's some really cool ones and some
kind of wild ones.
And some wild ones. So it's never the same. All right, Tim. The most important question of the night. This is really a tough one here, but I think you got it. What is your favorite Little Debbie cake?
Oatmeal cream pie. Now makes oatmeal cream pie ice cream, and when I tell you, it is like a religious experience. It is the best it marries the two best things in the world, which is oatmeal cream pie and ice cream. So, you know,
Oh, Talbot, it
yeah.
seems like you got some homework to do.
I do. I, I don't. I'm not a huge ice. That makes me super weird. I'm not a huge ice cream fan. But
Well,
I bet
you're wrong.
you know
You're wrong. You're
I
wrong.
am. But I also have been known to occasionally have an oatmeal cream pie. So
Well,
I was excited to hear that.
it's in a big. The thing is like very rich blue. You will not miss it,
Okay,
and I think power through the cold teeth and just really enjoy the moment. Because it's worth it.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. What
All
about you
right.
guys? What's your answer to that question?
He's oatmeal cream pie, and I'm fudge round, and I buy them myself. I bought them before the song came out, so
Okay,
I'm not a
I see.
I'm not a bandwagon KC fan
Yeah, I see.
or
Or
fudge
fudge round
round.
fan.
Right? Yeah, I'm loyal. So
That's fair.
Yeah, but isn't fudge round basically just like the chocolate answer to the oatmeal cream pie?
it yes, but see, I also have a glass of milk with the fudge round too. It's a combination. I don't have one
I
without
see.
with
I
yeah
see.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not
Yeah,
just
I,
eating. I'm not a lunatic. I'm not just eating a fudge round without some milk with it. I mean, geez.
That's
I'm not.
great.
All right, Tim, man. I appreciate the time and
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Is there anything else? You said you got new music that may be coming relatively or sometime. What's
I don't know when it's gonna come.
you don't have a date? Okay.
I'm in the process of trying to write like 30 songs to
Okay.
then figure out what to do with those 30 songs. But uh, who knows? I might cut a single and put it out. Early next year. We'll see. Um, yeah. Main things are studios open. Uh, so call me. You know.
Yep. So follow Tim on all of his socials.
Yep.
Yep. And all of anywhere you stream his music, make sure you hit the follow button so that when he releases those singles, you'll know about it. Follow him on his socials so that I'm sure when you work with people, you let that be known and stuff as well.
Yep. Yep.
So that it helps everybody involved. And most importantly, as we said at the very beginning, listen to his shit. So,
There you go.
all right,
Nailed it.
Tim. All right, Tim. We'll
Thank you
see you.
guys so much, man. For real.
see you,
Thank you for
Tim.
having me
Thanks.
on. Later,
Appreciate
guys.
you. All right, see you.
All right. Yeah, man, that was fun, man. Let's see
Yeah,
here.
dude. I had a great time.
Yeah, we
Where are we
appreciate it
at?
so much.
Yeah.
I think we'll just upload here, and hopefully it'll be
I
quick.
can't see. I can't see Tim's. I don't know where his is at. Yours says.
Mine's still running.
Yeah, so's mine.
Okay.
Yeah, it says stopping. I don't know why it says stop. It doesn't say stopped. It says stopping.
Could be we're not used to working with somebody with such great internet.
That could be it. The CIA may
Yeah,
be trying to
yeah, we're
shut you
not
guys down. You know what I mean?
exactly.
Never
They
know.
called on man with the CIA internet, and they find out about my fudge rounds. This is not good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Man, I don't know what his is. I can see mine says 99% loaded. It's still the
Mine
clock
doesn't
is
say anything.
the clock is
My
still
clock
running.
is still going. Yeah.
Yeah, so's mine.
Do I need to hit something?
No,
I
it's
don't
supposed to
think
be
so.
on mine.
No.
Yeah, I hit the stop button. It's,
What we might ask Tim is if you don't mind, just leave the app open
Okay.
for a little bit. I'll text you and let you know
yeah,
when it's done. But you can do other stuff, but just leave the app open
Like
if you
in
need
the
to.
background or whatever?
Yeah, in the background.
Yeah. Like don't close it out.
Yes, and then
Gotcha.
I'll text you and let you know when it's all okay.
Okay. Mine is still going. Is that okay? Sure. I mean, are you catching my audio in any way other than through the app? Right. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, so there were. Okay. Well, you're good. You're good then, Tim.
Okay. Man, I appreciate you guys. Seriously, man. Let me know if you need anything else from me, guys. Cool. Cool. I appreciate that, man, for real. All right,
All
boys.
right,
Y'all
man.
have a great night.
Take care. See ya.
Later.
Thanks, Tim. All right. Well, I'll leave mine up. I'm gonna go in there. But thanks for having me. I, I will. Sounds good, man. I appreciate it. That was fun. All right. See ya.